Welcome to Timelines of Power, where we analyze a character's power-ups and power levels throughout the series. Today we are joining Krillin in his quest to become more powerful and the strongest Earthling? We'll find out the answer to that in the Timelines of Power. But we go back to the good old days of old Dragon Ball when Krillin first made his appearance, asking Master Roshi to train him. This leads Krillin to become the short-time rival of Goku, carrying around their turtle shells, delivering milk, pushing big rocks, and jumping higher than ever before. This, of course, is in preparation for the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai, where Krillin does a great job against Bacterion, but eventually loses to Jackie Chun, who is Master Roshi in disguise. During the Red Ribbon Army arc, Krillin helps Goku a little bit. He participates in the Baba tournament, unfortunately losing to Dracula. In the 22nd Tenkaichi Budokai, he's become even stronger, defeats Chaozu, but unfortunately loses to Goku. Now, directly after the 22nd Tenkaichi Budokai, he is killed by Tambourine, so he spends that entire arc dead, but fortunately is revived by the Dragon Balls, and later participates in the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai, having become even stronger, doing a decent job against Piccolo, but unfortunately losing. Now we get into the meat of Krillin's power-ups. The beginning of the Saiyan saga. After Raditz loses to Piccolo and Goku, Bulma takes the scouter and reads multiple readings of Krillin, Roshi, Yamcha, and Tien, which Krillin's reads as 206, so we start Krillin off in Dragon Ball Z at a power level of 206. Now, of course, since our heroes are aware that the other Saiyans are on their way, and they are more powerful than Raditz, they head to Kami's lookout for some good old training. Now, it's important to note here that they finished the training in a shorter amount of time than Goku did, spending the rest of the year training independently. So this says something about the humans and their capacity to increase. So now, when Vegeta and Nappa arrive on the planet and Krillin, Piccolo, and Gohan meet them in the battlefield, Nappa actually reads Krillin's power level as 1083, but is shortly corrected by Vegeta, stating that they are able to increase their power level, and according to Daisenshu 7, Krillin has a power level of 1770, which from his initial power level of 206 gives him an increase in just 1 year of 8.5 times. So this number is important as I'll use it a little bit later for Krillin's power-ups. So while Krillin gets an awesome increase here, his power level of 1770 doesn't quite stack up to Nappa's 4000. So after Goku arrives, defeats Nappa, and the fight with Vegeta is over, our remaining heroes, Krillin and Gohan, make a plan to go to Namek to use their Dragon Balls to resurrect their friends. So this leads us to the next power-up, which leads to Krillin getting his potential unlocked by the Elder Namek Guru. So during this time on Namek, fending off Frieza's soldiers, trying to stay under the radar, collecting the Dragon Balls, Frieza decides to send in the Ginyu Force, which reveals Krillin's power-up from Guru, indicating that it is over 10,000. Now Daisenshu 7 indicates that it is 13,000. Now from my math, 13,000 is over 10,000, so we put Krillin at a 13,000 power level at this point. So this is where we have a kind of divergence with the power levels here. As I said earlier, I'm using the manga and Daisenshu 7 guidebooks for these power levels. However, we also have V-Jump, which puts his power level during the Frieza fight at 75,000. So there's a couple things we need to keep in mind here. To side with this 75,000 power level, we have Vegeta's statement, which he says that Gohan and Krillin's power levels have been growing quickly. Another piece of evidence comes from Krillin's performance against Captain Ginyu Goku, whose power level is stated to be at a 23,000. Krillin is doing a pretty decent job for having a 13,000 power level against a guy with a 23,000 power level. So to argue against the validity of this 75,000 power level and keeping Krillin at just a set 13,000 like the Daisenshu 7 says, would be the possibility that Vegeta was trying to talk up his team against Frieza because they were forced to fight him. And concerning the Captain Ginyu Goku fight, Ginyu may have had a power level of 23,000, but they state that he's very unused to the body and not able to utilize the power effectively, allowing Krillin and Gohan to get the better of him. So with that being said, a 13,000 power level would make sense. On top of that, we have Vegeta's performance against Frieza here, who has a stated power level of 530,000. So given that V-Jump puts Vegeta's power level at 250,000 here, I don't feel that Frieza would feel the need to go into his second form if he was already twice as strong as Vegeta. And there are also a number of other power levels in V-Jump that don't seem to really add up or make sense. But just for the sake of coverage, I'm going to calculate each for his 13,000 and for his 75,000 power level. So we'll keep the calculations for the 75,000 power level at the bottom of the screen as an alternate. But this is where things get tricky, as there is no stated power levels in the series after this point. But that doesn't mean we still can't go through and analyze the power-ups and the power levels. So as Krillin is killed by Frieza, he is dead for a total of 130 days, as it takes 130 days for the Namekian Dragon Balls to recharge. So after Krillin is revived, another 130 days passes, which Tien and Chaozu are revived, bringing it to 260 days since the Frieza fight. Now this is where we hit another bump in the road, and that is the actual time between the fight with Frieza on Namek to Frieza arriving on Earth. Some sources say that it's been a total of 1 year, while other sources, such as the Daizenshuu 7, says it's been the 260 days and then a year after that. So for the sake of these videos, we're going with the 260 days plus 1 year, and that is according to the dates of the Daizenshuu 7. So in terms of power-ups, Krillin is not really known to train, at least not as much as like Vegeta or Goku, Piccolo or Tien, who have been stated to always train and always seek to improve themselves and improve their martial arts and everything. Krillin's been known to retire during times of peace, but since there is no indication of whether or not he trained during the Namek and the Android saga, we are, for the sake of this video, going to say that he did train, so we'll give him a 50% increase between this 260 days plus 1 year, which brings him to a power level of 19,500. Now, of course, at this point, Trunks arrives and, like a contestant on Iron Chef, minces Frieza up and cooks him well done. Now, this brings in the next power-up for the little guy in the 3 years of preparation training for the androids. Now, we've seen in the series how big of a boost somebody can get from a special type of training, like the hyperbolic time chamber, training with Kami, etc. However, during these 3 years, they're not doing special training like that. They're doing preparation training, so training harder than usual, but they're not going to get the same exact boosts that they were training with Kami. So with that being said, we'll take Krillin's boost from Kami's training from earlier in the series at 8.5 times, and minus 20% for that, bringing it to a total of 7 times per year, or 21 times total. Now that is no small increase, and brings his battle power to a whopping 409,500. So after this increase, he's still not able to keep up with the androids, but is still a fairly active participant during the Cell arc. However, this is where his gains slow down, as we have a 7-year time skip to the Buu saga. This is when it is heavily implied, if not outright stated, that Krillin has retired from fighting. He's settled down with his family, 18 and Marin, growing his hair out. However, we don't know how long he's been retired for, if at all. Like, he could still be like working out to maintain, but it is implied that he has retired from the martial arts to settle down with his family. Then upon hearing about the 25th Tenkaichi Budokai, we see him training up a bit. Therefore, I'm only going to give him a 10% decrease after the entire 7 years, which will subsequently bring his power down to 372,000. And of course, during the Buu arc, he is turned to stone and doesn't really do much during that entire arc. But after that, we fast forward on to Dragon Ball Super, where he has retired completely. He has Goku punch him in the face really hard to make sure that he made the right decision in retiring, and has retired completely. However, we see the effects that this retirement has on him. He has his PTSD against the Frieza soldiers, realizing that he is still much stronger than them, but later on, we see the effects even more when he's a police officer, gets grazed by a bullet. His wife and daughter seem disappointed at how out of touch he's gotten. So it is apparent that he's gotten quite a bit weaker in his soft retirement days, settling down with his family and being a police officer. So with all that being said, we'll drop his battle power down by 20%, bringing it to a grand total of 310,000. But wait, it's not over yet. After being hurt by a bullet, however much sense you make of that, he decides to go off with Goku, whip himself back in shape, make his wife and daughter proud. He conquers his fears and gets back in touch with his power, and by the tournament of power, is stronger than ever before. Now at this point, it's very difficult to determine how much stronger he has gotten, but we can kind of get a roundabout guess. So for this, we need to determine approximately how long he was training for. Now in episode 17 of Dragon Ball Super, Pan was born, and we know that Bra is 1 year younger than Pan is. She was born in episode 83. That means the entirety of the Resurrection F, Universe 6 tournament, and the Future Trunks arc, and the Peace arc with Arale and all them was all within the span of 1 year. Now Krillin decides to start training again in episode 76, meaning that it was much closer to Bra's birth than it is to Pan's birth, indicating that he's been training for significantly less than a year. However, he does seem to get much more powerful, he's more confident, his skills are sharpened, so with all that being taken into account, we'll give him a 2 times boost, bringing his total power level to the end of the Tournament of Power to 620,000 with an alternate of 3.4 million. So I guess that means he can take on base Frieza on Namek, or possibly base Goku on Namek before fighting Frieza. Does this make Krillin the stronger Earthling? We will find out in the next edition of Timelines of Power. As always, comment below, share the video. Thank you very much for watching, and take it easy.